on the the IT and ERP side of things, what do you think is the best way to merge two our ERP software? You mentioned before a checklist, so I'm assuming planning is very high on the priority.
I would say planning, but to go beyond planning, I would say it's within your plan. It's critical to show dependencies. I think because there will be a sequence of events. There's things that you can transform or abandon or merge technology-wise. Things and some of the activity or integration pieces could be done in a standalone. Others are highly dependable on each other. So, for example, if you're thinking about the manufacturing environment, your scheduling system, you might think, well, we're going to replace the scheduling, but the scheduling typically will feed out of data from the ERP. So there will be question as far as, do I do A before B or B before A? And so to me, the planning is important, but within the planning, I would say the sequencing and the dependencies. You need to have a good understanding of the dependencies between each of the component that you're going to have to touch.
Out of all of the things that an IT has to deal with when it comes to a merger of two different ERP services, what exactly is the most challenging part of an IT integration?
We were working to serve the business, to support the business, and at the end of the day, there's a human factor in all this, where there will be people using technology that comes from two organizations, and at the end of the day, there will be key decision to make on if you have two of everything. At the end, you have to pick one. So if you have two ERP, you have to pick one. If you have two purchasing app or way to do purchasing, because we talked about in the last hour about the app themselves, but if we raise the dialogue for a second to processes, it all points to business process. So if you have two different processes for purchasing, for example, obviously there is a good chance that decision will have to be made on which process do we keep, which process do we let go. So it becomes, to some extent, there's a lot of human factor into this, and the challenge is, if we like it or not, I've been to make tough decision on do we pick A or we pick B. But you cannot please with everybody. So IT is there obviously to assist and make recommendation. But I think the human factor in this case is still very important.
And it's like you were saying before, it all is about having a team around you that has been there, done that.
Correct. And this is a bit why what you see very often in the market, where the buyer being the buyer, would come many times. They would come to say, okay, you guys have to integrate into our platform. The go-to assumption is you're going to merge to the buyer's platform or processes, and that's the going in position, which doesn't necessarily mean there's no room for exceptions. There is always room for exception if the company being purchased is doing things that are much more efficient for whatever reason. Why would you trash or replace a process that is a lot more efficient than your own? It has to kind of, at the end, it has to bring common sense, and then it create other type of comments where you may get comments where, how come we bought this company and we are taking their process, they are not taking our process, and again that points to the human aspect of all this. So you need, at the end, to drive this, you need very strong, I would say strong leadership is an understatement.
So in closing, I mean, do you have any other thoughts regarding the human aspect of mergers, acquisitions, and potential SAP integrations and so forth?
Yeah, I'd say one last before we wrap this up. I think in the marketplace today, there is a significant shortage of IT professionals. Good IT skills are hard to find and hard to keep in your own operation. So I think there has to be a special attention to keep in those transactions to secure and keep your best expert, because I think the disruption that you will create, obviously it may trigger a migration, people resigning, good people that are very valuable to your organization, that knows your system, knows your process. I'm sure in every organization there are key people. So I think the right approach or the right steps has to be taken so you don't end up by accident or by negligence losing very, very good resources, regardless if they are on the buyer side or the seller side. It's hard to find sharp people out there. So I think special attention is needed. And I would say the same comments probably apply today in other areas at manufacturing. It's hard to find good expert out there. It's a challenge nowadays. So I think people should pay probably more attention, or make sure they pay attention to keep their best players on the team.